Okay, so let's look into what is double spending problem, and also how other efforts of digital currencies they try to solve this one, right? So they have this notion of the cyberpunks and other communities. They have the notion of launching digital currencies, and how did they try to solve this problem of double spending and things like that. So let's see what is a double spending problem, right? So for example, here let me take a simple example. Let's say that you have a $10 bill, entirely digital. So that means that this is not a fiat currency, but this is a digital currency, right? And what you have, is just a bunch of bytes, right? So yeah, the $10 bill is in the form of a bunch of bytes, right? So then, if I have the bunch of bytes, what is stopping from me to make a copy and using this as two bits, right? Basically, what I'm trying to say is, let's say that if you have a 10 bill and if you want to use it more than once, what I mean to say is, let's say that you have $10 bills and you want to spend it like a 40 $50 bill, right? So that means you want to without transferring the currency, you want to spend it four times or five times. So what normally people will do is they will print the counterfeit notes, like the fake notes, and then they'll put into circulation. So here also, if you have the currency in the digital form, and then it is easy to make a copy and use it at two places, similar to like the counterfeit currency, right? And then, because you just need to copy the bits of the bytes. Let's say that if I pay two people with the copies of the $10 bill, and then maybe let's imagine that I spend this at two different locations at the same time, maybe using my friend or using some online transaction and things like that. How do the people will know that which is real and which is fake? Because which is the original copy or which is the copied one and things like that. So that is the main problem. Yeah. So that is the double spend problem. So the money is purely digital. So you can easily make copies of it. And then you can easily spend at two different locations, right? So that is the main thing. So let's say that we have an attacker who has a $10 bill, and then he makes two copies because he want to spend it at two different locations. So he makes two copies, and he sends one copy to Alice, and then one copy to Bob, and then let's imagine that both Alice and Bob, they are sending him some physical goods in exchange of the money. So since they got this bill, the digital currency worth of $10, so they transfer the goods or they send the goods back to them and things like that. And then if the exchange is physical goods, it's really bad because it's already shipped and it's already sent to the attacker and things like that. But they will realize that actually one of them is real, you can say, and one of them is counterfeit, right? So, but they will only come to know at a later point of the time, right? So this is one of the biggest challenge for many digital currencies, because you need to solve this double spending problem, and without solving this double spending problem, you cannot launch a digital currency, right? So let's try to understand how this double spending problem is being achieved in the normal forms and things like that. So double spending problem can be conceived as a counterfeit problem in case of real currency, fiat currencies. But the notion of counterfeit will only make sense in case of physical bill. So in case of the digital bill, you have the real bill is nothing but a just of bytes. For example, let's take a third-party institution like PayPal. PayPal is doing similar kinds of things, right? For example, let's say that you need to pay some money to someone whom you don't know and things like that for in exchange of a service or goods or something like that. You can ask to PayPal to pay on behalf of you. They are like some kind of mediator, you can say, who will pay on behalf of you, right? So how the PayPal solve this problem? So what they do is PayPal has the servers, and they what they do is they will do anti-counterfeiting, right? So they will keep track of which digital assets have been used and things like that. So they have a centralized system which will make sure that this anti-counterfeit feeding will happen. So that means people don't spend the same money two times, or you can say the people don't double spend the money. So it is the PayPal's responsibility, or you can say the PayPal servers enforce this guarantee that the money is not counterfeited, or you can say the money is not double spent, right? So spend more than once and things like that. So this protect the system from double spending. So here, since we have some kind of enforcing system, maybe in this case it's PayPal, right? So, and so that's why double spending is not happening. But on the other hand, we have one problem, right? So we are achieving this at the expense of giving the PayPal the complete control over the monetary system. So, for example, if PayPal could want to trace you, they can easily profile you, saying that where you are spending money and things like that. So you are in a way giving control to the centralized system like a PayPal about your spending behavior and other kinds of things, right? PayPal knows literally for which purposes you are spending your money, because you ask PayPal to pay to the company X, company Y, company Z. So that's why they know that you are spending at these different locations, right? So one of the first initiatives is again David Kump. I think he's one of the the cyber punk movement. So he's considered as the father of the cyberpunk movement, and he's an academic researcher, and he's also invented a lot of algorithms in the anonymous communication, especially using the cryptography. And how could you be anonymous in the communication? There are different types of anonymity and things like that, pseudo-anonymous or completely anonymous and other kinds of things. We will look into some of the details when we talk about the anonymity in the cryptocurrencies. So what they did is they invented many cryptographic protocols, including the group signatures and mixed networks. The most important thing is blind signatures, right? So what I mean to say is, I want a system something like the PayPal kind of thing, but on the other hand, I want some kind of anonymity about what I'm doing, right? So some kind of, I want PayPal to transfer money, but on the other hand, using some kind of blind signature so that the PayPal don't track me, what I'm doing and things like that, right? Or you can say PayPal don't profile me over the time about my spending behavior and other kinds of things. So this is they come up with a very clever idea. So it's called eCash, and so in 1990s they superheaded the first serious attempt to build a private digital currency, DG Cash. It's called DG Cash, and it uses novel cryptographic methods, basically to ensure the user privacy while solving the double spending problem. We have seen how the PayPal and other kinds of institutions, they solve the double spending problem because they have the centralized authority. But on the other hand, they are also keep tracking which currency bill is spending or not. You can say which digital currency is spending or not, because we need someone to take care of it. Otherwise, we can easily run into double spending problem. but the expense of revealing ourselves to the centralized authority, right? So the thing which they try to solve is using some kind of anonymous communication, using anonymous methods, especially the blind signatures, right? Let's look into it, what it is. So here is the idea. First, let us say that you have some coins issued by the users by a bank. So let's say that these are some coins, and the coin has specific denomination and a specific serial number, which are cryptographically signed by the bank, because these are digital coins or digital tokens, you can say. And when you have a merchant, let's say that you have some coin, right, and which is issued from the bank, and you want to spend this coin with a merchant, you will forward this coin to the merchant for in exchange of a service or a goods. And then the merchant want to make sure that the coin is valid, right? It is not double spent. Basically, he want to make sure that it's not double spent, right? So basically, he will send it to the bank, right? The bank will verify the signature and over the denomination, and they will also verify that the serial number is valid. That means it is not already spent. It is not a double spent, and whether the coin is not previously spent. So that is kind of check the bank will do. If this checks out, the bank will ensure that the merchant saying that, okay, this is valid, and I guarantee you, so you can be free from the double spending fear, and this is a very valid coin, right? So all the spent coins are real, and they don't have any spent before. But here is the trick, and let me explain the algorithm a bit more here. What I have discussed is the same as what I usually do in the PayPal, right? So I want to pay to some merchant for some service. I ask the PayPal, and PayPal will pay on behalf of me. So similarly, what we have discussed in the DigiCash is more like the same kind of thing. But there is one trick, right? So let us say that we have Alice, and we have a bank, and we have a merchant, 3 parties, right? So let's say that Alice want to spend some money. So for example, she want to spend $5 money with some merchant. So she want to buy some product or something like that. And then what she will ask is, since she has the money with the bank, she will say that, okay, give me a digital currency of worth $5, and you can deduct this money from my account and send it digitally signed version, right? So she will ask for a $5 coin. But on the other hand, here is the trick happens. She will create a serial number. So let's say that I have Alice has decided to use the serial number 1234 for the sake of very simplicity. So 1234 is the serial number Alice has created. And then what she will do is she will blind the signature. So how she will blind? Again, using some kind of hash commitment and cryptography scheme. So then she will send it to the bank and say that, okay, this is my blinded serial number. I don't want you to know the serial number, but on the other hand, sign this blinded serial number for a worth of $5 so that I can send it to the merchant, pay $5 to him, and I can get the service or whatever product from the merchant, right? So basically, LS is asking bank to send a $5 digitally signed currency, right? But on the other hand, the trick is that she only knows the serial number. She created a serial number. She will blind the serial number. Let us see how we blind it. It's just, you can say, some kind of cryptographic trick, you can say. But the bank don't have any clue about the serial number. She will simply believe that, okay, there is some number which is generated by LS, and for that number, for that unknown number, the bank has to create a $5 token, right? So the bank is, since Alice has an account with the bank and she has money in her account, so the bank will deduct $5 from her account, and then bank will sign this blinded serial number for $5. So that means it will put a value $5 to it. The value of this digitally signed note is $5, and it will use its public key. It will use its private key to sign this digital bill so that anybody can verify, right? So that is the signature part. So the bank will send this signature of the blinded serial number back to Alice, right? So now Alice has this digital bill, which is nothing but a serial number that is created by Alice and blinded and signed by the bank and things like that. So what she will do is, when she got this signed version from the bank, then she will simply unblind it. Unblinding is a technique, again, a cryptographic technique. So you can basically, you can unbind it, and then you can use this digital bill, and then she will send this digital bill to the merchant, right? So now the merchant receives these signed versions of the unblinded signature, unblinded serial number signed by the bank. So this is the digital asset which the merchant has received. And the merchant, he want to know that this is not a double spent coin, because maybe Alice can be malicious and things like that. So basically, the merchant will want to make sure that he will send the whole signed version of the bank received from the bank to the bank, right? The bank will make verifications, validation checks, so it will see that whether it is the same signature which it has used and things like that. And then if it is valid, then it will say that yes, this is perfectly valid. It is the same digital bill signed by me. I can verify and things like that. And then it will certify the merchant, and the merchant will proceed further. Then another check will be done, saying that, okay, is this digital bill already spent or not? And the bank will guarantee that, okay, this is not spent. I can guarantee you, right? And the merchant will accept the coin, so because it is original, unspent, and then he will provide the service to Alice. And what is the advantage here we have? So since the serial number is created by the Alice, and bank has no clue about it, so the bank cannot profile Alice spending behavior, or because bank has signed blindly some serial number created by Alice, and so the bank cannot profile Alice. So it's like ensuring privacy to the user, but on the other hand, the similar to like the PayPal kind of system, but with full protection of the privacy. Any questions or comments? Did it sounds reasonable or something like that? Did you understand? So let me ask a question, right? So what I'm saying is the bank doesn't know the serial number. For example, in this case, Alice has chosen serial number 1234, right? When at the time of signing, the bank has no clue what is the serial number it is signing, because it is blinded. Blinded is nothing but you can simply imagine that I generated this 124 serial number and put it in a sealed cover, and just giving it to the bank saying that, okay, put your signature on top of the sealed cover. Don't open it, because I have something, I have some secret number which I generated. Just sign it and say that the value is $5, and then put your stamp or seal so that it can be validated and things like that. And then she used this digitally signed bill, right? So my question is, so the bank has no clue LS has used this serial number 1234. But in this step, how does the bank guarantee the merchant saying that, yes, this is a virgin coin? Do you see what I'm asking for? Because it has no clue. This 1234 or 5678, which number LS has chosen. But how does the bank can guarantee that whether this coin is double spent or not? Can anybody answer that question? Or at least say it is possible or not, and if it is possible, how we'll try to explore how it is possible, right?
Students, you can even reply in the chat box whether it's
Yeah,
possible
you
or
can
not.
also use chatbot. Yeah, you can use chat, put your answers and things like that. Make a guess. Of course, it doesn't need to be perfect, but make a guess. Because the 1234 is not known to bank, that because it is generated by Alice and it is completely blinded at the time of signature. But on the other hand, bank is saying that, okay, this is valid because it checks its signature, right? So it makes the validations on the signature and the signature is valid. So it is the same bill which is signed by the bank. So the bank is happy. But on the other hand, it's also saying that this coin has not been spent previously, right? So how does this happen? Because it has no clue about the serial number. But on the other hand, that will help us to protect the privacy of LS, right? Like because the serial number. So the trick is, why not the bank? Of course, the bank knows that it is the one who has signed the bill, right? So the signature tallies. So there is no doubt about it is the bank which has issued this digitally signature bill, right? So it is valid. Then what the bank will do is it will open the envelope because now it is sent to him and it can see the serial number. Okay, 1234. But bank doesn't know that this serial number will belong to Alice because it has not seen this before. But on the other hand, when it receives for the first time, and it will check this 123C for a serial number, it has not been in the list of the serial numbers already spent. So let's say that bank will keep the list of the serial numbers, and then since 1234 is not already in the list, then it will simply add to the list and it will say that yes, this is genuine serial number because I can't find this serial number in my list, right? To understand further, let's say that Alice is malicious, so she want to double spend this $5 bill signed by the bank. Then she sent it to another merchant. Let's say that we have Bob or someone, and she sent it to Bob. And again, Bob want to make sure that this is valid bill, and then the Bob will send it to bank, right? And then the same thing will happen. So the bank will check whether the signature is valid. That means it is signed by itself or not. Yes, the signature is valid because this is a genuine bill. And then it will check the serial number 1234. And then since the merchant has sent this bill to him previously, so the serial number 1234 is being added to the list. So now when Bob sends it for the second time, now the bank can see that, oh, 1234 serial number is already in my list. So that means this resource has been spent. Right? Then it will reply to Bob saying that, no, this signature is valid. Of course, this is the same signature created by me. So that means it is a valid signature. But on the other hand, this is not a valid coin because the coin is already spent by someone, right? So I can see that I can see that this coin has been spent before. So that means it's a double spend, right? On the other hand, the bank will never know 1, 2, 3, 4 belong to LS. Of course, you can also say that, for example, what happens if LS want to create a currency with $37.248, right? Then probably you can make some kind of a correlation saying that, okay, 32, the bank has signed for $34.278, and it is only LS who asked for this money, probably 1, 2, 3, 4 containing $34.278 belongs to LS. But on the other hand, let's say that we go with some standard denominations, $5 bill, $10 bill, where everybody was using the same bill, then you have no clue to which purposes these coins have been used, right? So that is the beauty of this Chom's blind signature. If you want to know how it actually the trick works, so basically this is called the blind signature. This is called the protocol. Again, this is a cryptographic trick. So basically, you will choose a message M, which is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4 in this case, because Alice want to use this serial number, right? And then she will choose a random number. This is similar to what we do in the hash commitments, right? In order to prevent about this the message not being reached, what you do is you will add some random number, or you can say random salt or something like that, and then you will do this trick. We will multiply this random number and the message, and you will choose a k to which you will compute the power. This is probably nothing but the blinded signature, right? And you will send it to the bank. So this is the blinded message which is sent to bank. So bank don't know this M and things like that, because what it gets is it gets the whole the product of these two numbers, right? So it has no way of finding what is the M. But on the other hand, what the bank will do is bank will simply sign this blinded version of the serial number, which is M2447, and with the signature. So now this is completely the signed version of the blinded signature. And the blinded message is sent back to the LS here. And when once LS got this blinded, the signed version of the blinded serial number, sorry about the cooker sounds, but they will go away in a couple of minutes. And then what Alice will do is she will do this trick. She will again apply some kind of operation on it. So on the digitally signed blinded version of it, by using r to the -1, so that it will cancels out. So you will get a digitally signed version of the message. So in fact, what we are trying to do is we ask the bank to sign a blinded version of the serial number. The bank has signed this blinded version of the serial number, but on the other hand, we are transferring the serial number. So we are transferring the signature back to the serial number. Right? So this is called this way of dealing with blinded signatures. Again, this happens using this group theory and other kinds of mathematical trick, which people use in the cryptography and things like that. But yeah, this is what happens in the blinded signatures and eCash. So in a way, you can see that when you compare with the previous example, in case of PayPal, we have no privacy, because the PayPal can profile people, and they can profile the people's spending behavior, and they can have they can observe what people are doing and things like that. But on the other hand, in this eCash system, blinded signature, you have no clue for what purposes, who has used this money for. Right? So this is the absolute privacy would we get out of this digital cash, right? And yes, it lost out in the user adoption against the credit cards and the other PayPal systems. So it was quite a genuine kind of system, right? Like, and but it didn't. It failed because the eCash, the company, actually it went bankrupt in 1990. Right. So, and then there was a lot of eruption about the PayPal and other credit card systems. And so then the cyber punks, they saw this message, this failure, and they realized that the eCash is another weakness, which is like it relied on the single entity. Like there is a company behind it, and the company went down, then he took all the cash along with it. So, if a digital cash need to flourish, and it must go beyond the dependency on any central bank, right? So it should not have any kind of dependency with the central parties, right? So that is one of the messages it tries to take care. But on the other hand, it tries to solve this double front problem in a much more anonymous way, or you can say privacy preserving way, things like that. So another important digital currency, which is before the Bitcoin, was eGold. eGold was founded in 1996, and it was one of the first .com companies to create the digital currencies. And it is in fact 2 years before the PayPal and things like that. It was basically they issued digital currency backed by the gold reserve. So that means they have some kind of pegging and things like that, that anyone could hold a transfer. And it was quite popular because they were not like the banks. You don't have a lot of checks and things like that. So soon it became a $2 billion company. So you have so many transfers like the PayPal, it became $2 billion transactions soon and things like that. It was immensely popular. There is another side effect with the popularity because it is popular. It also because of the few restrictions and things like that. The side effect of the popularity is it's also attracted a lot of hackers, scammers, and ransomware people and things like that. So a lot of cyber criminals. So then what happened? The US government it took note of this digital currency, e-gold, and after lengthy court case, the court ruled that the e-gold is guilty of money laundering because people are, since they ask very less number of checks, you can use to transfer money from one place to other place. So then it became under the purview of money laundering laws, and they were sued for money laundering laws and things like that. You know, money laundering is a pretty big financial constraint on the banks and things like that. If let us say that if a bank involves in the money laundering, there will be huge penalties and the penal actions against the banks. Especially in Europe, if a bank, if the financial institutions know that if a bank is purposefully involved in a money laundering operation and things like that, you know what is money laundering, right? Like sending money to in the illegal ways and maybe try to fund some illegal activities, for example, terrorism and other kinds of things, right? So if they realize that if the bank is involved without knowing or unknowingly, then they can cancel the bank license, or they can fine up to like hundreds of billions of the dollars or something like that. So the money laundering rules are very, very strict. So even in case of e-gold, so it was prosecuted for money laundering, and then it was a lengthy case. All the balances were frozen, and the government took care of responsibility to return the money to the valid users and things like that. And but that the failure of the e-gold made a good lesson for Bitcoin. So what is that lesson? So the regulator didn't want digital cash to exist, right? So that was the main thing. So because it is operating outside the regulation and things like that. But actually, what is the problem? The real problem is collateral, right? So while e-gold was centralized with gold, or you can say collateral with gold, and DigiCash was collateralized with US dollars. So that means they have some kind of pegging, right? So you can pay in US dollars and you can buy and other kinds of things. So this kind of collateralization is the big problem in the currencies. Because when you have a collateral with the dollar, then you will come into the purview of the legal system, right? So, and when you have a collateral with e-gold, and then also you will come into the legal purview, and then you could be prosecuted for money laundering laws and things like that. So both ultimately fail within the purview of the state. And if you wanted to create a currency that was beyond the state of the control, the state control and the financial control, so you need to have out of the collateral with the regular currencies or taking of the with the gold and other kinds of things. So then the cyberpunks thought that they should avoid collateral altogether. So that means no collateral with gold or any kind of currency, because that will bring a lot of troubles onto them, right? So even though their purpose is to not to harbor cybercrime activities, that is not the main purpose of the digital currencies, but you can easily run into these problems and things like that, right? So if you had non-collateralized money, and then you also might need to create scarcity and other kinds of things, right? So so that it won't inflate and things like that. So the biggest challenge is, how do you create a digital currency that is non-collateralized to the fiat currencies, right? So fiat currencies are the gold standard and things like that. So this was one of the biggest challenge for the digital currencies to solve. So two of the most important schemes, which is either called B-Money, proposal by Dai in 1998, and BitGold. Then it was proposed by Nick Szabo, who is the main guy behind the smart contracts. So he wrote automated contracting language in 1990s or something like that. So these are the two proposals which try to avoid, or you can say launch, a digital cash which is completely non-collateral to the fiat currencies and things like that. Both schemes were designed by the prominent cyberpunks and strikingly similar to Bitcoin, but they have missing some key ingredients and things like that. So again, when you look into the Satoshi's paper on the white paper on the Bitcoin and things like that, he was aware of the B-Money, the proposal and things like that, and he cited in the white paper, but he didn't have this reference to the Bitcoin, but it was added later on the website and things like that. So he acknowledged that he took some ideas from these two proposals and things like that. But let us look briefly into what is the difference between the Bitcoin's design and the design of these currencies, these digital proposal. These proposals for digital currencies, because they didn't exist, they were never implemented. Let me put it like this: they were proposals. So B-Money, like BitGold, like the Bitcoin, use a public key cryptography for identity. So basically, we will see in the coming classes, like it uses asymmetric cryptography. You have this public private key pairs, and use your public key as address for the transaction and things like that, or you can say use it as a identity and things like that. So basically, they use the asymmetric public key cryptography for that. But both B-Money and BitGold use the proof of work to mint new coins. So Bitcoin also used the proof of work to update the blockchain and append the transactions and things like that. B-Money and BitGold use timestamping servers. So we have seen these timestamping servers, right? Because this is the inspiration for Ledger and things like that, so that they can order the transactions chronologically and things like that. So, and Bitcoin implemented a decentralized timestamping system. So we'll see again when we look into the consensus algorithms, there is no chronological ordering of transactions in the Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, the transactions are not ordered chronologically, but they are ordered, you can say logically or something like that, because we see this longest chain rule, which actually decides which transaction is valid, which transaction is not valid, and things like that. So both the Bitcoin and Bitgold were achieved by the consensus by counting the total number of nodes. So basically, in their proposal, you have the nodes, and the nodes can participate in the voting mechanism, and then they vote for which block is valid and other kinds of things. So basically, they went with the nodes voting and letting the nodes to vote, and then achieve the consensus and things like that. So this is what they have, the proposal. But that is the main limitation of those currencies as well, right? So because they let the nodes to vote and things like that, and that created a vulnerability of Sybil attacks. What is a Sybil attack? Sybil attack is a common attack in the, you can say, in grid computing and the peer-to-peer networks. So basically, let's say that you have nodes like this, right? You have a network of nodes, right? And each node can vote for some decision, right? On the other hand, Sybil attack is nothing but, let's say that the attacker tries to sabotage the network or take over the control of the network. What he can do is he can create the dummy nodes, or you can say fake nodes. Normally we call them as Sybil nodes. You can easily create so many Sybil nodes and then add it to the network. And then he has a lot of nodes which is controlled by him, so he can control the decision-making process. So this is normally called the Sybil attack. We'll see more when we will come to the consensus algorithm and things like that. So you can easily create a huge number of nodes so that you can influence the network and take over the network and things like that. So if it is a simple majority rule, then if you can create several hundred of the nodes, then the network is yours. So that is the one big thing which is vulnerable in case of these two currencies. Right. So, and any robust decentralized currency must be resistant to Sybil attack, because this is not easy, right? So this vulnerability should not be there. And Bitcoin tries to solve it using a different technique and things like that, but we'll see more in the coming days. At the end of the day, both B-Money and Bitgold were only described the blog post. They were described about the proposal for launching the currencies, but they were never materialized, you can say. They were never implemented and things like that. Both these designs used ultimately to influence the digital currency that would to see the light of the Bitcoin. And ultimately, you can say that the cyberpunks who laid the groundwork for all the creation of the Bitcoin, and Bitcoin took so many good ideas from all these currencies. So that's how it got this novel the contribution and things like that. And we will see in the further classes, maybe in the coming classes, next 2-3 classes downside, we'll see how Bitcoin solves this Sybil attack problem, right? So then we will look into the mining power, and we'll look into the game semantics about why miners behave responsibly, and what it takes to take down the Bitcoin network and things like that. We'll discuss all those things in the coming classes. Okay, so I can see that we're almost coming to end. And this is a pretty good video. And this Cold Fusion, they made several videos on the blockchain and things like that. So, and let me just start it, but we don't need to.
This video is brought to you by Discord. Hi.
Called a wallet file, which the Bitcoin is stored in. And without that file, there is no way of getting the money back, because there is no...
Getting too noisy. James later ended up throwing the hard drive in the trash.
Let me start it here. Sorry. I will play for 1 minute and then we can close off.
This video is brought to you by Discord. Hi, welcome to another episode of Cold Fusion. In 2009, a man by the name of James Howells proved himself to be a visionary. He started mining Bitcoin before anyone else had ever heard of it. James managed to stockpile 7,500 Bitcoins when they were just a fraction of a cent per coin. Eventually his girlfriend made him stop. She thought that the computer doing the mining was, quote, getting too noisy. James later ended up throwing the hard drive in the trash, and today this mistake cost him over $400 million.
To get your money, you would need that hard drive.
Yeah, there's a specific file on that hard drive called a wallet file, which the Bitcoin is stored in. And without that file, there is no way of getting the money back because there is no central server that records a log of it.
In 2010, Laszlo Hanyecz bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, or about $35 at the time. It wasn't the first transaction in Bitcoin, but certainly the most widely publicized. Unfortunately today, these delicious pizzas cost him $500 million.
Is it true some people celebrate the anniversary of the day you bought the pizza?
Yeah, May 22nd, Bitcoin Pizza Day. So
It's called Bitcoin Pizza Day?
it is.
It's stories like this that make Bitcoin such a fascinating phenomenon. Its growth and adoption, at least over recent years, has been mind-blowing. But the story of how Bitcoin came to be is just as interesting. Despite Bitcoin's young age when compared to traditional stores of value, the fundamental ideas behind crypto may be older than you think. So the question has to be asked, where did Bitcoin actually come from? Who is the mysterious individual who invented it? Sit back, relax, in this
Okay, so this is a long video. You can observe it at a later point of time and things like that. It's very informative, and if you have some questions and other kinds of things, it will easily handle it. And okay, let's spend these few minutes. If you have any questions or comments and things like that, so then you can close down the session. You can also put questions in the chat, right? Like.
Yes, students, do you have any queries, or you can also tell your feedback about what you learned today? I think we had many new things being learned. Anyone?
Okay, so here is comment. Interesting to know about the history of Bitcoin. Okay, and I hope at least you haven't learned these things previously, right? Like at least these main ideas behind the history, the motivations behind the Bitcoin and other kinds of things.
Yes, sir. This is
Yes,
the
sir,
first
it was
time
really.
we are
Yeah.
hearing about this history.
Oh, you people also celebrate Bitcoin pizza every day, every year. Yeah. Yeah, this is a very expensive pizza and things like that. Okay, good. And if you have any questions, then otherwise have rest of the weekend, and then yeah, we'll see in the next class. Of course, I need to cover the cryptocurrency, simple cryptocurrencies, but we'll take it in the next class, starting with some kind of simple currencies to understand the ledger. And the biggest challenge is how to decentralize the ledger in a manner that we can easily verify and other kinds of things, right? So we'll discuss them in the next.
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
then.
So the next class
Yeah.
is on August 24th. Okay. August 24th, 12:30 IST. So we will meet then. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Professor.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
have a nice day.
So thank you all, students.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I will
Thank you,
send the
students,
videos.
for
Sorry,
yes,
go ahead,
Professor. You can send it. Yeah, no, you can send it. No, I was just telling them. Yeah. You can send the videos in the chat box itself. Or I will also share this PPT. in the GCR, in the Google Classroom. I have created a virtual classroom for them. I will upload these things.
Okay.
And we are also planning to have a website dedicated for this subject. So once we receive the recordings, I can host in that website itself.
Okay. I will send you these recordings. I think these files are big, at 100 MB or something like that. I will create a Dropbox
Okay.
file transfer and then send it to you. You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
download it.
definitely. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so have a nice weekend. Then I will stop.
Yeah, thank you. Wish you the same.